Alright, so I was in the middle of working on another video, which I'll likely post in the coming days, and while I was working on this video, I get my notification from Shams Charania, because of course I always have to have my notifications turned on when you're this close to the trade deadline, and I look down and I see first thing, breaking, the Dallas Mavericks are trading Luka Doncic, and right away I'm like, okay, this isn't real. Like, I legit thought either one, I didn't read it correctly, or two, I'm looking at a fake Shams account. Or somehow Shams has been hacked. Like, I didn't even read through all the other details in the trade. I just instantly thought this has to be fake. I just saw that the Mavs were trading Luka and said there's no way. But sure enough, Shams follows it up and says, yes, this is real. Like, the trade was that insane that he had to come out and confirm that it was in fact real. This is probably the biggest trade in NBA history. I'm doing this video off the cuff as a real-time reaction, so I'm sure I'll later think about a historic trade and say, no, that one was actually bigger, but I legitimately, right now, can't think of a bigger trade in the NBA since I've been watching the league dating all the way back to the 90s. Like Kevin Durant getting traded to the Suns just a couple years, that was pretty big, but it also wasn't that surprising, given we knew that Kyrie had already been moved from Brooklyn and Kevin Durant's days were likely numbered as the Nets were going to be going down a path of rebuilding. But this trade, you're talking about trading a 25-year-old MVP caliber level player, arguably a top 5 player in the league, some would even argue he's top 3, in the peak of his prime, the Mavs franchise player who took you to the finals last season, and you trade him. But not only that, it's who they're trading him to. So the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the most historic franchises in the NBA. Of course, they've got LeBron, one of the greatest players to ever play the game, and for the Lakers, they're sending out Anthony Davis, who has been with the organization since 2019. They won a championship with him in 2020. AD and LeBron, that was the duo. Like, when it came to this trade deadline, you weren't thinking about LeBron or Anthony Davis getting moved. Those were the guys that you were going to keep to try and make one last push for getting a title. Not a chance in the world they would look to move one of them unless they requested a trade themselves. I mean, I'm still in shock and disbelief and trying to wrap my head around this trade and making sense of it, because the Mavs didn't have to do this. Let's say for a second they actually were thinking about the future of their team, and they've seen how Luka has operated ever since drafting him, which, don't get me wrong, as great as he is, incredibly gifted, he does have some glaring flaws. Most notably with his defense, and sometimes he's a little too ball dominant that it can take opportunities away from others. But even if you said, what if Luka isn't our guy? Maybe we should trade him now while he's at his peak, get an insane haul for him, and go from there. The Mavs got one first-round pick out of this deal, and a soon-to-be 32-year-old Anthony Davis. Not saying AD is a scrub, man is a star, and he's been incredible the last couple of seasons and has actually been able to stay healthy. But he's 32. Luka is 25. And Luka, on the whole, is a more impactful player on the court than Anthony Davis. Now, again, this is sort of a quick reaction video to the trade, so I'm sure we'll hear more of the details that will come out. Once it simmers a bit, I'll be able to make more sense of it. I'm sure there are some financial considerations on the part of the Mavs because Luka is soon going to be eligible for a max extension worth well over $300 million, and I'm sure they were assessing the ramifications of having that contract under the new CBA, and we're kind of like, do we really want to pay this guy that much? But like, man, this is Luka Doncic, the franchise player that you drafted, well, traded up to draft him, and he became an immediate superstar. Yes, you pay him that kind of money. And yes, the Mavs have Kyrie already, and you've got Kyrie and now Anthony Davis, which I think will be a great duo together. The Mavs will still be a good team, but both of those guys are on the wrong side of 30. That core isn't going to last long, especially with Klay Thompson at his age as well. And then where do you go from there? You look forward to that 2029 pick that you got in that deal. I don't know. Something just seems off here. Like, how do the Mavs not get more in this trade deal? This borders on the line of collusion. I'm not a conspiracy theorist by any means, but why are the Mavs trying to help out the Lakers? This team was on the brink of fading out into oblivion with LeBron nearing retirement, Anthony Davis getting older as well, and nothing else really to work with or look forward to as a promising piece for the future. And somehow they get gifted another superstar. It just boggles my mind. It's either that or the Mavs, simply put, just didn't really believe in Luka, because the reports are that the Mavs actually reached out to the Lakers to see if they would be interested in Luka Doncic. This wasn't a trade request from Luka. This wasn't a push for LeBron to try and go after Luka. But again, if that was in fact the case, how is it that you weren't able to get more for him? Even the Lakers' 2031 pick Shout out to Danny Ainge, by the way, who somehow weaseled his way into this and got a couple second-round picks out of the deal. Anyway, I'm sure I'll have more, meaningful thoughts, or at least better conclusions here once the dust settles and we learn more about the details of this trade, but this has to be the biggest trade, the most stunning trade we've ever seen in NBA history. And I don't really know how it's going to go for either of these teams and how they position their roster. I am curious to see how this will impact the rest of the trade deadline and if this is the domino that needed to fall to get more deals going, but we'll see. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. Of course, as always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.